Welcome. Oh, that was gross. Hi. Hi. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Empaths Anonymous podcast. I'm Danie.
I'm Christina.
And another treat. You guys are spoiled.
We are really spoiling them with some good shit.
I mean, just call us mommy. Literally.
Alex Cooper, we're coming for your brand.
Yeah. I am so excited. We are so excited to have another guest on for you guys today. It's been something that we've been really excited to talk about and something we always talk about on the podcast anyway, which is dating.
Yeah, we have Jillian Romero Chaves coming on the podcast, who created Clara for Daters, which we'll get all into in the interview. But first, what's in your cup, girl?
We're on a brew doctor kick. We're on a kombucha kick.
Yeah.
We are on a kombucha
It's
kick.
like a summer. I drink kombucha way more in the summer than I do in the winter time.
That's true. It's so refreshing and always has to be kept freezing cold. Yeah, I think it's delicious. I, of course, what do I have? Clear Mind. And that is also in my figurative cup today. I'm showing up with a Clear Mind drink and a clear mind in my noggin.
I love that.
Yeah, I think I had a good sleep. I feel refreshed. Yesterday felt a little bit wonky and weird.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just like the day in general. I also didn't get outside very much. And
was
so
Monday.
I do plan to get outside a little bit today. Yeah, yesterday was just like Monday blues all day. But yeah, overall really good. I am 2 days into my mini summer and we love it here. Lots of fun stuff planned for this week and the next until I get back to the grind, which is fine because that's life and we love it. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm showing up refreshed. What's in your cup, sister?
I have a Brew Doctor Strawberry Fields. It's strawberry hibiscus and green tea. It's a new flavor and I really like it.
I love hibiscus.
Yeah. It's, so you know the strawberry kiwi that we had, the June Shine?
Yeah.
This is more strawberry flavor than that one. When I was drinking that one, I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
I wish the more of the strawberry came through.
Yeah.
This one, it's like very strawberry heavy, which I enjoy. 'Cause
Yeah.
it feels summery.
Yeah, strawberry's a great flavor. I don't know what the June Shine was giving, but it wasn't strawberry.
It wasn't.
It was good. It was giving spiked. And
Yeah.
if you're drinking an alcoholic kombucha, then
yeah.
there you go.
There you go. It was like I could taste a little bit of the kiwi, but not really strawberry.
Yeah.
It was a very, very light flavor, which I feel like Brew Doctor in general, their flavors are a little bit more, they hit ya.
Yeah, intensities.
Yeah, June Shine can be a little bit like mild. Their flavors are more mild, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely taste the alcohol a lot more. Whereas compared to Nova, I taste the flavor more than I taste the alcohol. So I think it just depends on what you're looking for.
As we said last time, you guys know that we love a Nova.
Yep.
Life check-in. Yeah, same. Yesterday, I just did not want to do anything. But I did try a new yoga place that's literally so close. Like, I could walk there. I didn't because it was 90 degrees yesterday. And I also was running late, so I had to drive. But it's like a block away, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me if I had a BBL. So that's where I'm checking in. I was like, girl, no, I do not. But thank you for thinking that I do, I guess. Yeah. And then I've just been in my patriotic brat summer girl because of the Olympics.
USA.
Yes. I love gymnastics. Since I was 5 years old, one of my earliest memories is being glued to the TV watching Dominique Moceanu, who's like my favorite gymnast ever. I have her beam routine stamped into my brain.
Wow.
Love it. That entire Olympics was absolutely iconic. It's when, I think her name's Carrie. I always say Mary Lou Retton, and it's not Mary Lou Retton, when she broke her ankle.
Oh.
And the Team USA won gold for the first time, maybe period.
Oh, ever.
Yeah.
In the history of the
And they had
games.
one of their first black gymnasts, Dominique Dawes.
Oh.
So yeah, I've always really loved gymnastics. We've talked about this. Gymnastics is very much an elite sport. My family didn't really have a lot of money growing up, so I would beg my mom to put me in gymnastics, and it just was not something that we can afford. And I think I had 3 girl cousins on my dad's side who were all in gymnastics, and so I think my mom saw, that takes some money. So I was never able to be in gymnastics, but I've always loved gymnastics so much. So
This was a fun fact I learned about Christina this summer.
she's like, why is this girl so intense about gymnastics?
The team finals are on. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch it. Like, hey, I love it as much as the next bitch. I love the Olympics. I just didn't know it was like a thing for her. But now that I know it, it's here and it's clocked, and I'm going to look for some gifts.
Yeah. We just before this watched the team final.
Yeah.
And they won gold. So congratulations, Team USA.
Congrats.
They're dealing with some sickness and some stuff. So it really was only Simone, Suni, and Jordan who performed, and they did an amazing job.
Interesting.
So congratulations, Team USA.
I did not know that about the sickness. Who's sick? The little girl?
Jade.
Oh.
Yeah. She did so well in the team practice, and then that's why she didn't do very well in the qualifications, because she was just, she's sick, and so my body's weak, like I can't land the tumbles and stuff like I normally can.
Yeah, because in practice the girl was killing it, and then they got to the qualifiers, and she stepped, when she was doing the floor routine, I think she stepped off twice, or she fell on her bum.
Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm checking in. I'm just scooting through summer, girl. Yeah. Getting ready to travel again, so it's like just getting ready for that. But comment and let us know, what's your favorite Olympic event?
Well, we don't have that much else to chat about. Surprise.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it.
Ding. All right.
Welcome to Empaths Anonymous podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Miss Jillian Romero Chaves, who is a social impact entrepreneur and intentional dater who has pioneered transformative changes in the early dating and relationship health landscape. As the founder and CEO of Clara for daters, not a dating app, she leads a revolution that empowers individuals to make informed, purposeful choices in their dating lives by supporting them in their post-match dating journey. Her motto is, expect little from dating apps, expect a lot from yourself. Welcome to the podcast, Jillian.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. I can't wait to talk to you both.
Of course.
Yeah,
we're
very
so excited.
I think at least one time per episode we talk about dating and our woes. So
our dating woes.
Yeah. Very excited to have you here.
So first of all, we like to ask everybody, because we have our segment that we do at the beginning of every episode, what's in your cup today, both literally and figuratively?
So literally I have my Stanley cup here, and it's definitely filled with water and then a little bit of apple cider vinegar that I like to have just to spice it up before a lunch or a meal.
Yeah.
And then some lemon just to make it a little sweet.
Right. A little more palatable.
Yeah. Less like vinegar.
Less vinegary, but I've gotten used to it so far. So as long as it's cold, and the good news with the Stanley cup is it keeps it cold, then it tastes fine. I'm good with it. Yeah. In terms of my cup of life, I came off of a big fun weekend, went to my cousin's wedding, which was like a 3-day thing. Oh, wow. Super fun. I went single and I had fun just enjoying the weekend. I went on a date last week. It ended up not being one that I moved forward to a third date. Okay. And then we'll see about this week. I have a couple people that I'm messaging that we'll see if they manifest into something. But I have another cousin's birthday this weekend, so maybe I might not have a date this week. We'll see. I'm going to play it by ear.
Okay. Yeah. busy. You have to like schedule all of these things in.
Yeah. I have yet to go to
it's a priority.
I have yet to go to a wedding single. So whoever wants to get married and invite me, I'm so ready to go single.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
It is fun. You meet people and you get to enjoy the energy, and no one else's mood is going to impact yours because you're there and you're having fun and you're enjoying the vibe.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. And you also don't feel responsible, especially if it's like your family or your friend. Yeah. You don't feel responsible making sure the other person's having a good time or introducing them and like all of that kind of stuff. You can just go and live your life.
And just be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cut it up on the dance floor. Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. Definitely.
Awesome. Let's just get right into it. We like to focus on uplifting Black and brown women on our podcast and talking about our own individual journeys and how we got there. So the first question we wanted to ask you was about Clara, and was being a Latina founder of a dating journal app ever in the cards for you in your professional career prior? Did you see yourself here, or how did this come about?
Yeah, it was definitely not in the cards. I was an automotive exec for about 8-9 years, and I was definitely deep into that world. I loved it. Auto is a fun world for anyone who has a bit of ambition and a bit of gumption in terms of being an entrepreneur, because it's a place that you can really make your own. And especially as a woman and a woman of color, it's a very diverse group of people. Mm-hmm. So you're always working with a lot of different people. But during that time after college and in auto and really having a lot of success there, I started dating. And I didn't really date a lot when I was younger in high school or college. I was definitely like the late bloomer. Yeah, super shy, didn't have any serious boyfriends, maybe like one in college, but even then it was like very like innocent and not something that I was learning about red flags or boundaries or what feels good or not. I didn't learn any of that stuff. So after I was in my career for a couple of years, I was like, oh, well, now I'm like in my mid 20s. I think it's time to start dating and like, let me find a person. And when I started dating, I fell pretty quickly for my ex. He was one of the, like maybe the second guy that I talked to, like super early on. And I fell really quick and really hard. Again, I was such a late bloomer. I had no experience with what felt good and what felt uncomfortable, understanding the difference between chemistry and then also my own patterns, right? I am the oldest cousin and the oldest sibling of a Latino family. Being that in that role, I'm a people pleaser. I want to make the person that I'm with feel good always. And a lot of those patterns that I felt I was falling into that felt good because it was something I was familiar with, but recognizing now that those were actually not good things that I was falling into. So I was with him and we were on the path for marriage. I was completely engaged in going through it. He had the ring and we were ready. And then COVID happened and I was home more. And I found out that he had actually been cheating on me the whole time of our relationship. Wow. So that was really, really tough. And that's where I was like, I mean, I knew cheating was bad. So after all the other uncomfortable stuff that I was like working through, times when I was uncomfortable in family situations and other stuff, and I just kept making an excuse on this is my person, I'm committed to this person, the whole leaving and cleaving aspect of my relationships and what I was raised with, like that stuff all kind of went away. And I was like, no, this was wrong. After I realized I left him that night. And you know what? I have to say I was able to leave him and I feel like that's a place of privilege that I was able to do that because I had the financial means and the community means to be able to leave that night. There are so many women, especially women of color, who are in that situation, find themselves in that situation, and they aren't able to leave, especially after 3 years melding your lives together. After that happened, I wanted to figure out how to get back into dating and not make the same relationship choice, not letting behavior patterns and behavior, family trauma, behavior trauma, like come into my choices of who I'm choosing to be with. And that's how Clara for Daters came about because I was like, I got to figure out something to be accountable. I can't keep talking to my therapist or having a dating coach being that person for the rest of my dating journey. I need to have something that's tangible. And that's how I created Clara for Daters to help me switch what I'm choosing, my behavior, so that I'm choosing the right person for me and it feels good as opposed to like past behavior patterns and whatnot.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot as far as if something doesn't exist, there's not a resource that is available. Sometimes we just have to make it. It's a big reason why we made this podcast because we're like, you know what, we don't see a lot of people having the conversations we have and two like multicultural best friendships where it's like we come from different cultures but we like really celebrate and relate to each other's experience. We have a lot in common with you. Like we're both also the oldest daughters, very ambitious and kind of like you said, late bloomers. Do you feel like that dynamic of being the oldest and really being ambitious, maybe feeling like you have to be the example or you have something to prove in your family, do you think that was a factor in why you started dating a little bit later?
Oh, 100%. I never did a lot of like partying or anything like drugs, anything like that, just because of that role. And I was very mindful. I was very thankful for my parents and the education they gave me. My grandparents were first generation. So it was just like, we need to support, I need to be the person that makes them proud. And I need to be that example for all my cousins and everyone. So with that responsibility, it wasn't a burden. It was almost like a pride. Like, of course, I'm not going to mess this up. Like, you guys came here with nothing. I'm going to honor that. And I'm going to make sure that I have the best grade, get into the best university, and do the most with what you guys have gifted me with. And that has nothing to do with messing around and doing all this stuff. But in reality, that messing around, and it's not like a bad messing around, but that messing around is something that needs to happen. It's a trial and error, and it's a making mistakes thing. And if you don't do it, it does come back and hit you in the butt. And the problem is, once you're older, you have higher stakes than when you're younger.
Yeah.
When you're younger and you're in high school, a boy messes with you or messes with your heart. It's not as huge stakes. I mean, I'm sure it feels like it is, but it's not huge stakes. But then later in your 20s, into your 30s, you have more equity in terms of like your own wealth, like who you are as a person, right? Like that's going to be a bigger swing, and it's a harder mistake.
Yeah, exactly. More at risk. And then I'm a single mom, so that puts a whole extra layer onto dating as a single person in my 30s, when someone has to be okay with me having a child, and also her being my priority at all times, because no matter what, she's going to come first. And it's difficult when someone else that you're dating does not have a child, because it's just a different experience. You just don't really know what to expect. So yeah, I think that trial and error, I wish I could have had that time for those mistakes as well.
Yeah, we had opposite.
No, 100%.
We kind of had opposite experiences, because like when she was in a long-term relationship, I was single for most of my 20s, or like dating. The longest relationship I've had is about a year, and it was long distance. So I'm like, does that even really count? But I think that I think that there's pros and cons to both, because I think it almost primed me to be attracted to toxicity a little bit, because that's what I was used to. Because it's like I had, 3, 4, 5 situationships with the same kind of person. I had to delete all of the apps for a while and really just go on a personal journey, because I'm like, okay, I'm dating and I'm out there and I'm making the mistakes and I'm learning from them, but like, why do I keep attracting the same person? So I think it's funny because we have opposite experiences in that way, and it's like we can learn and grow from both. But I think that too, like you were saying, not having the time to make a mistake too, you feel like, even though we don't want to limit ourselves to a time clock, you feel like you're starting so much later.
Yeah, no, and the reality is, if you want to have kids, like some of that is, and that's the clock. And I mean, I want to have kids. That's the thing. So like making sure that I'm actually putting effort into dating, and making sure that I'm, with someone who wants to have kids, like in the near future, is going to be a high priority for me.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is, when you're dating like this, it's hard to not overcorrect, right? Especially if you come out of a relationship that was bad. Then what happens is we overcorrect the other way. And it takes a while for us to learn. And honestly, dating is very similar to entrepreneurship. Like in entrepreneurship, they say a lot, fail quickly and fail cheaply. You're going to fail and then learn from it, right? But do it quickly, do it quick.
Yeah.
And the reality for me is, even for me, I've been tracking my dates, obviously, with Clara, and logging and reflecting, but I've recognized that I've overcorrected in the last year, and that I was really leaning into guys and wanting to date guys that I felt extremely safe with, but I didn't necessarily feel chemistry with. So I was forcing things further along, and I honestly deserve both. Like I really came to that realization in the last couple of weeks. I was like, hey, I deserve to feel safe and also feel chemistry. And now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I correct it back the other way? But again, this took a year of reflection, and I'm like, why am I not having this? This is the realization after looking at all these guys that I'm dating. I'm spending a lot of time here, and there's a part of me that still fears chemistry, obviously, because of my ex, right? And because I fell so quickly. So there's that part that fears it. So there's that overcorrection again. But again, if you're not being aware of everything, then you're just going to keep failing and not actually adjust your mistake. And that's the hard part, is because for me, 18 months and 62 dates later, like I'm still trying to correct what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah. That actually segues very well into our next question about Clara and how it functions. How does it help daters, or being in your dating journey, become more intentional throughout the dating landscape?
So Clara for Daters is not a dating app at all. Dating apps for me, they're lead sources, right? There's a way for you to make an introduction to someone, and that's how you should look at them. And most of the dates that I meet through and that I log through Clara, I do meet them on dating apps. Some are like referrals, and then also some are through friends or referrals. I haven't really met anyone that I've gone on dates with that I've met in the wild yet. I'd love that experience. I try to keep putting myself out there, but we'll see. But how Clara works is, to say I meet a guy on Hinge this week, right? And I'm talking with him, and it looks like it's going well, and we end up setting a time for a date. So once that gets to that point, then I actually log that prospect into Clara. and I say, okay, I met John Smith. I met him on Hinge. He's this years old. I put some notes of what I've learned about him so far. Maybe he has a dog, where he's from, what he does, just some notes. And then later this week, we go on a date. So we go on a date and I just enjoy the date. I'm there, I'm present. And then after the date, I come back to Clara and I ask me some questions. So first question's about, how was your mood before you went into the date? And then it kind of get an idea of your mood. So, okay, my mood was good. It was Thursday. I'm excited. It's Thirsty Thursday. Maybe I get like a little drink. I'm in a good mood. And then it asked me some questions. And these are the questions that I actually developed with psychologists. And there's 10 questions. Each set of questions is going to be different based on what date you're on. So if it's a first date, the questions are going to be different than if you're on a fifth date with that same person, right? But the values of the questions are always going to be around the same topic. So it's going to be determining if there's chemistry, emotional safety, relational safety, physical safety, and shared values. A chemistry question would be something like, was there a quality about your date that you found attractive? Another question is, did you feel like your date was being friendly, right? Or another question is, were you comfortable with all the conversation topics, right? Similar questions like those. And I always think about that conversation topic question because I remember early on that I was very uncomfortable with some of the things my ex would used to talk about, and I never called it out. Like I was thinking maybe it's just because I'm not experienced with men. But for me, that was really uncomfortable and I never called it out. So anyway, those 10 questions occur. And then at the end, there's a reflection part. So after you answer those 10 questions, it's yes, no, yes, no. And you get a score at the end, so out of 10. And then for me, that reflection part really helps me with things that I want to expand on or things that I should pay attention to if I'm going to go on another date with him. So like if there was a conversation topic that I wasn't comfortable with and I mark it, I wasn't comfortable, right? Then I write in that reflection, yeah, I was really uncomfortable when he brought up X, Y, Z, and I leave it there. And that's basically how it works. Now, when you're collecting this information over time, it just helps you make more informed choices while dating. So I actually did a TikTok on this earlier because I was dating a guy last week and we went on 2 dates and I didn't feel the chemistry after a first date. But then I was like, I'm going to give it another shot because he aligned with all the other stuff. Like all the other stuff was really strong. He was a great guy. So I was like, let's see if there's a chemistry on the second date. And it was the same thing. And when I see the pattern like that, like 1, 2, 3, that's when you start making those decisions. But Clara, the app's never going to tell you, like, Jillian, why are you dating this person? Like, you didn't have any chemistry. That's up to you to make the decision based on the information because dating is confusing and it's going to be up and down. And even with all the experience that I have and the reflection I have, I'm never going to be an expert ever because literally each person is someone new and I'm someone new around each person. It's always going to be different. So the only thing that I can do is make decisions and choices with the information that I have and make sure that I'm looking at all the information, which is what I didn't do with my ex. And that's what I'm trying to attempt here with Clara is that you are seeing all the information and then you make the decision and the choice that feels best for you once you have all that information.
Yeah, it's such a smart idea to essentially make a dating log / journal. I have what I call dating amnesia, where like maybe I'll get something will make me uncomfy or like we'll have a disagreement about something. And it's like maybe I'll be upset in the moment, but I always have to ask her, why was I upset about him again? Or like, how many strikes is he on? I know that last week I was upset about this, but remind me about like why I'm supposed to go no contact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. And the fact that you have a friend that you can be honest with is awesome. See, like with me, I remember early in my relationship with my ex, I wasn't sharing the bad stuff with my best friend or my sister, right? Because I knew they would call me out and it was so new and I wasn't good at sharing. So that's why I was like, okay, maybe a third party like app that no, I don't have to like, I have to be honest with myself with is something that could be an option.
Yeah, that's so true because you pretty much have that instinctual gut feeling. Like you said, when something makes you feel uncomfortable, but you don't know how or you don't have the tools to know how to confront that or call it out. A lot of it has to do with confidence and experience, right? So you convince yourself that, okay, well, it made me uncomfortable, but it's not that big of a deal. Even though later on in the future, it was the foundation that did make it a big deal. And you noticed it and you felt it in your gut, but like you said, you're not going to share that with the people closest to you because you know the answer. But you've
And
got
I
your
think
blinders on.
Exactly. And I think when you see the data reoccurring after the date, because that's what happens is you see it, okay, date 1 felt like this, date 2 felt like this, date 3 felt like this, date 4. Now I'm feeling empowered to make this choice because I have 4 dates of data worth of my feeling that's been uncomfortable. And now I'm going to feel powerful enough to make this choice, even though like I'm still confused. The data shows that I've been uncomfortable 4 dates in a row.
Right. You have the information in your hand. So we always joke about this, that we like gaslight ourselves all the time.
Right.
Well, no, it's true. And like someone slides back into your messages. I had this earlier this year. I dated him last year and he like slid back. Hey, just wanted to check in, like how you're doing. What I do is I go back to Clara. I look in my cut section. Like, you know, I cut him off, but he's still there.
Yeah.
Reviewed that record. And I was like, yeah, this is not someone I don't want to pick back up again. Right. But I have it all there. So I'm like, no, we're going to let this one pass.
Yeah. Especially because our brain does a really good job at remembering the fluffy, good stuff. The good memories stick, and the negative memories for protection just kind of hit the road, Jack. So it is really nice to have those categories. I see your Virgo cap. I'm like, okay, I understand the categories now. Yes, categories. Yeah. Because when we opened the app, we were just looking through it. I wish we had prospects to put in there to go through the steps. But we'll get there. And so I was like just looking through it. I'm like, yes, I love the organization. I love that you have the different areas to where you know that however the dates are moving along with different people. And then you do have that space where you can revisit if someone does resurface and come back and you're like, oh, like maybe he wasn't so bad, or maybe I can give this another shot, until you go back and look at the information and you're like, no.
Yeah, you're like, no, never mind.
Yeah.
And that was the part of it, is I was trying to make it as gentle as possible, because I do believe that people need to make the choices, right? Even when you categorize where you are with a relationship with them, there's a section that says benched, right? And Clara's never going to tell you to bench someone or cut someone or keep dating them. But it's up to you to be honest with yourself on, hey, this doesn't feel comfortable. And I've had this. I've actually had a stage where I was really attracted to a guy and felt lots of chemistry, but I wasn't feeling good about, like, every time I left, I was feeling anxious. In between the dates, I was feeling anxious. And part of me was like, I don't know, I feel like I should probably put this guy in bench. And even in doing so, not even cutting it off, but in doing so, I put him in bench for 2 days. We didn't talk and we didn't go on dates. But I put him in bench for 2 days. And after that, 2 days later, I looked at it and I'm like, do I really want to be in this relationship with this guy who's making me feel like this? And then I wrote a text and I was like, hey, I'm feeling like something's off. This isn't a good connection for me. You know, wish you all the best of luck.
Yeah.
But it took me that process to slowly allow the connection to let go. So luckily, let it go before it turned into a situationship.
Right. And what was interesting when I was going through the app is the roster feature. I know that there can be controversy around should you have a roster or not, right? There's people that are like, absolutely not. That's what's made the dating landscape kind of murky, because we're all talking to multiple people at the same time. But then I saw on the app, I'm like, oh, it really does encourage you to have a roster and to maybe go on dates with different people in the same time period. Or like you said, maybe bench them and then revisit it. So can you speak more to that, about why could it be beneficial to have a roster?
Yeah, roster dating or rotational dating is something that I learned about from dating coaches, because after that all happened, I was like, I got to learn everything and try to figure out what works best. And for me, who's more of an anxious attachment style, more of a people pleaser, it's easier for me to be not attached to the outcome when I'm talking to a couple people. Now, it depends on each person, right? Some people are only going to be able to go on one date at a time, and that's fine. And that's the beauty of Clara is, again, it's never going to tell you to do anything. And you can use the app and just date. I mean, if you're in a relationship, I have people who are married on Clara and they're just using the app to log their dates with their spouse.
Oh, cute.
So it's completely, and just to keep track of where they went and what they did, and just notes of what they did. But it's completely up to you. For me, roster dating or rotational dating, I'm usually talking, it's always the early stages. I'm never an exclusive committed relationship. But that's the thought, is that it also helps me understand that there are stages to a relationship and not assume that I'm in an exclusive committed relationship, even though my hopeless romantic person wants to be. So it almost prompts me to make sure that I have a conversation myself, right? Because again, and I don't want to put a generalization on guys, but most guys they're going to wait until they have the conversation a little later on like exclusive. What does that mean? And it might be up to you to have that conversation, and understanding that I'm talking to other people, he's talking to other people. That actually is better for my mental health, understanding we're just dating. This is a second date, third date. It's nothing special yet. Once it gets to exclusive, monogamous, whatever that looks like for you, then things will change. But again, it'll prompt me to have that conversation. But the other beautiful thing about Clara is that's me. I'm looking for an exclusive, committed relationship. And that's something that's important for me in order to feel safe in any relationship. But we have people who are ethically non-monogamous using the app as well. And they're just using it just to make, ethically non-monogamous or in polyamorous relationships. And they're using it just to make sure that the connections they're choosing to be around feel good every time. Claire's end goal is not to actually get you into a relationship. Clara's end goal is just to make sure that you're having as many in-person, meaningful connections via dates as you can, and they feel good, and that you're having these in-person human connections.
Yeah. What is the feedback that you're getting from Clara users? Does anybody report back? Or I don't know how old the app is, but is there a way for you to really see the data as far as like how this is affecting people's lives?
No one deletes my app because I always like joke it's like a period tracker app. You don't want to lose all that valuable data for the last whatever years. Yeah, and eventually I'm looking forward to the time when I have my daughter and I'm like, yeah, let's look at the shoebox of all the guys that I dated because I'll have all that information there and what I learned and whatnot. All my users, they're men and women, mostly women, mid-20s to mid-40s is the sweet spot. Definitely 30s is the biggest group. And they're dating intentionally. They're logging at least like 1 to 2 dates a month is the average. And they log their dates. They're intentionally dating. They're trying to put in the effort. They're listening to podcasts from dating coaches, and they're just using it as a tool to really help them stay grounded and consistent in their journey. And then the feedback that I'm getting is a lot of people who were holding on to situationships longer than they should have, and that gave them the courage to leave those situationships because they saw it wasn't good. It's hard because I don't want to be not romantic. I do believe romance exists and everything, but it does give them the area to have a bigger perspective. So when a relationship of someone that they just met goes bad, it's not so bad because you see how it kind of got there. And the turnaround time from failed connection to dating again is a lot shorter. And that's the big thing, because I've been on a date like 2 weeks ago. Great first date. I was super interested in the guy. I thought there was chemistry. And then the next day, he wasn't feeling the chemistry. And usually that would be crushing. And then all weekend, I'll watch some romantic comedies and order ice cream. And I'll do a full weekend of doing nothing and being lonely and sad because of this one bad date.
Right.
But I actually ended up going on another date with someone else that weekend. And I set myself up because I was like, well, let's just keep going. And I felt a lot better. So yeah, it helps with your bounce back too. And that's what other users are saying. But yeah, it's been really great and people appreciate it, and it keeps them more consistent in dating. So they're not in that cycle of download the dating apps and then delete the dating apps and download. I look at it like binge eating, right? Like you want to just be nutritious and eat in a consistent way, as opposed to binging on dating and then stopping and then binging and starving, right? It's the same thing. Like try to be consistent.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. I feel like I'm on a 6-month bounce back period right now. And I know that situations are different for everybody, and it also depends on what happened in the relationship. Maybe you do need to take some extra time. But I do find that when I just dive in and I schedule those dates for myself and I just make myself do it, because I always tell myself the worst thing that can happen is I go, it's horrible, and I just excuse myself. And that's the worst case scenario, right? So getting back on the horse, and like you said, it cuts that disappointment time.
Yeah, it's like no workout is a bad workout, right? You learn something. You learn something in that date, whether it be what a boundary looks like or what you're attracted to, or you just got out of the house and you're not one of the millions of people who are suffering in this loneliness epidemic that our whole nation is going through, right? Like you're actually put yourself out there and are experiencing a meaningful social connection, bad, good, or in whatever. At least you're out there, you know?
Yeah. We just spoke to this about how we're so grateful to be busy, and we're in the era of our lives where we have the opportunity to network with everybody and just go out and introduce ourselves and create a community. It's really where we're at now in our early 30s, having realized we are the type of people that have always had a very tight-knit, close group of girlfriends. And for us, as of right now, it's her and I. So for the last 13 years plus tack on being far apart from each other, me having a kid, like it just completely changed the whole dynamic of our friendship. And so us realizing that like we want to be a part of what you're saying, meaningful connections, a bigger community, but something that doesn't necessarily mean you just have a large group of people around you, but you have very intentional, meaningful connections with people in general. So I'm wondering actually if I could use it for friendships. Do people say that they use it for friendships or just dating?
No, people have, and that's definitely like on the horizon because it is something that, again, my goal is not relationships. It's just making sure that everyone's out there doing the exercises and having meaningful in-person connections. So friendships is definitely a thing that we can do. The hard thing with me when I look at other women and they talk about the value of friendships, I have a wonderful best friend too, and then my sister I'm really close with. And when they started getting married and started having kids, that was when it became a part was like, hey, do you want to just be the auntie or do you want to kind of lean into this? And that's the hard part is because I think we do get comfortable in this space of wanting to just be the auntie and I'll be this person, I'll support these kids and that's great. But do you still want it for yourself too? And I think that's the hard part is I do get a lot of users who come to this realization that they are wanting something more and they want to be honest with it, but they feel like it's not in the cards. And I think that's the hardest part is if you want this is a possibility for you, don't give up yet. And even though friendships are remarkable and wonderful and completely filling, like at the end of the day, I'm so happy that I have wonderful nieces and nephews that I can play with, but I do want my own kids and I want a meaningful connection with someone important and romantic. And I want that. And being honest about that with yourself does take a lot of courage too. And I applaud anyone who's saying that as well, because you have to put yourself out there and it's tough. Rejection does sting sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. I have always, I think, put my female friendships so highly because I have had across my life just very deep, fulfilling friendships that I did have to be honest with myself. And I kept saying, I'm good. I don't need a relationship or I'm okay being single, which I am okay being by myself. But I also have to be honest with the fact that I do really want a relationship though. And pretending like I don't is only going to be a detriment to myself because we can't do it all. As high achieving women, I think we all relate of like we want to do it all, but we can't. And so it's like as much as I love Bumble BFF and doing all these networking things, I have to recognize I only have so many hours in my week. I only have so many available slots in my week. And so maybe if my goal is to create community and to date, maybe I just have to figure out a way to do both. Like maybe I go on 2 dates a week and 2 friend dates a week, or not a week, a month. That would be a lot. Girl, you know, two dates and 2 friend dates. Maybe that's how I get my fill of both. Or even saying in this season, I'm going to prioritize dating for 6 months and see what happens. And then maybe in my next season of life, then I'm going to prioritize my career or then I'm going to prioritize my friends or whatever it is. But you just have to be honest with yourself in the fact that you can't do everything at once.
Yeah. And it's about balance and you can. And that's the other thing is we don't need to get into conflict with each other as women in terms of, okay, I'm good being single and I don't want anyone else versus like, I'm single. I'm enjoying my single era. I loved going to this wedding this last weekend single. I had so much fun. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to not say that I do desire to go to a wedding with someone that I really care about too, right? And that conflict, like, we don't need to have that conflict amongst each other. It's better to just support each other and support our desires, understand that I can be in my single era, love my single era, and still desire romantic connection, and everyone's can be supportive of that because that's true support, right?
Yes.
As women, we should be able to do that.
Of course. Yeah, we talk constantly about honoring each other's wants and needs and how multiple things can be true at once. I can be single, I can be okay in my single era, but know that my future self would, of course, like a partnership. And I would, of course, want to create a family. Like, I think that my child is the type of person who would love a sibling. So it's definitely something that I can't ignore. But just being in this era of singleness right now, I'm like more than okay with it. So I know that I can acknowledge that that's true too. I know that I'm not really ready to date with the intention of a long-term committed relationship, marriage or otherwise. So I acknowledge that I'm okay being single now, but also in the next, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, I certainly see myself looking for something more. So I do appreciate the two truths.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We all have seasons. Mm-hmm. It's a season and it's all good as long as we can support everyone. That's what I want to do. And that's what Clara is. Clara is really there to support whatever season you're going through. It does try to encourage you go to dating, even when you're not looking for a relationship, just someone to go out with and hang out with and even talk, especially because there is so like much gender conflict on social media and everything.
Yeah.
Just so that you can get used to like talking to men, right? In this era, as this era for you as a mom, and what does talking to single men look like, and just talking to them, not having any outcome or mine, but what is looking like talking to a guy who's in that space? What does it look like? You know, what does it feel like? Can it get comfortable? My sister said some great things. She was friends with more guys than I was growing up, and she got used to talking to them. I think that's another thing that we just, if you don't have that experience, it's such an anxiety ridden thing that, hey, let's just start talking to each other, figure out how we communicate.
Yeah, I'm definitely a huge advocate of, I am now in this point in my life where I need to have the friends to lovers situation.
Yeah.
I have to be comfortable with you in a very friendly way. I don't want to just jump into a romantic love or a very passionate type of feeling. Like, I appreciate going into something having been someone's friend first and having those emotions grow as it continues on. So yeah, we talk about that. We talk about so many things.
And honestly, the right person's going to love that. It's like slow burn dating. I talk about slow burn dating sometimes. And I was going on, again, I have so much experience now with all these guys. I was going on with another guy for a couple of dates, and it got him really frustrated, this slow burn dating concept. Like I said it just once to him. I was like, hey, I just want to go really slow because I want to make sure that, we're going, I'm getting to know you. I want you to get to know me. And it made him really frustrated. And he kept bringing it up. And then that I recognized pretty quickly that he wasn't the right person just because he was so fixated on like the pace. And I was like, we're just getting to know each other. Right. But that helps you get to know what connections, again, to pursue and then which connections to let go.
Right. Do you happen to watch Love Island?
I don't. I need to start watching Bachelorette and Love Island. Those are the two that people keep talking to me about. I've watched Love is Blind.
Okay.
But no, not Love Island.
Yeah, this most recent season, there was a girl on there, her name's Serena, and she was a very slow burner. And I think that it gained her some public criticism. And I'm kind of the same, so I could see in her shoes. But at the other side, it's like, well, you are on a dating show where you're like meant to find your person in 6 weeks. Be true to yourself, but also like recognize like where you are and what show you're on. But she's like a really great example recently of a slow burner, and then somebody who accepted that and said, you know what, I'm going to take her for who she is, and we can move at whatever pace that you want to move. And could it be hurtful sometimes or disappointing to want to be affectionate with somebody and they're just not there yet? You have to see people as people and not just fulfilling this like romantic fantasy that you have in your head.
Yeah. And that's the importance of a relationship, is you have to meet people where they're at. If you guys are not meeting each other at the same place, then that's not going to work. Or having respect for each other, right? Like, it's just, it is what it is. And I'm sure I would love to watch that because I think it sounds like a really cool kind of case study.
Yeah.
But in terms of what she's trying to do and trying to be open for that person, I'm sure she's trying to communicate and wants to be there, but you have to have respect for both.
Yeah.
It's a tricky.
Yeah. It's season 6.
Case is always tricky.
It's season 6. Okay. So that would be like a great, like from your perspective and like the data of it all, it'd be like a great case study.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely look at it. And that's the other thing with all my users. That's what I encourage them to look at their dating life like that. Like, hey, you're experimenting, like learn what works for you, learn what doesn't. Each one's going to be different. Like, you're your own love scientist. This is just a data journal to kind of help you make the choices you need to make based on the information that you're collecting and your understanding about yourself.
Right. Yeah. So good. I'm going to get on the apps after this. Follow-up question as far as what helps you, because we spoke a little bit about this prior to the interview, so we thought it would be such a great thing to discuss. So essentially, what helps you maintain groundedness in a high emotional environment like early stage dating?
For me, it's about consistency. So I was traveling a lot in June and I didn't go on as many dates. And when you're not consistently going on dates, it's really hard to jump back in it again. It's like, again, like a workout. So it's like your muscles are a little tired. It's like, oh, I'm a little insecure. My workout clothes got a little tighter than they used to be. Like it's different, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, that's what helps is staying consistent and then really reflecting on everything. And like that anxious attachment style, it really goes away when I'm being honest and writing the notes in the journal. And even between, because with Clara, you can write as many notes in between the dates as you want. And for me, when I'm dating someone new, I actually write a lot of notes in between and having that outlet so that it's not in my brain. So it's not just swirling around on, oh my God, why isn't he texting me? Why isn't he texting me? Or what's going on? If I put it into the notes and I literally say, I really wish he would have texted me today. He didn't, but it's something that I should probably pay attention to. And maybe I bring up communication style at the next date. And I write it there, I leave it in the note, and then I don't need to think about it anymore. Right. And that helps me with my own mental health because I'm like, okay, now I have assignment for myself to bring up for the next date and I don't need to think about it anymore. No more energy here.
Right. Yeah. The ruminating thoughts can definitely take a toll. Or you have the opposite issue where it's like, wow, why does this person have so much time to text me all day? So that could definitely be noted in the journal as well.
Yeah, same thing. But whatever that is, both of those are opportunities to have a conversation with the person in person. And that's, I think, another thing is that we always shy away from is those uncomfortable conversations. And if you just sit there and just be like, hey, I feel like there's a lot of texting or I feel like there's not enough texting, I would really like to talk about it in a really adult way. We're all adults. We can have these conversations. Then it'll really show a lot in terms of the person that you're dating, you know, green flags and red flags on how they receive the information.
Oh, for sure. I think we're so quick to, oh, that's a red flag, or like, oh, that triggered me and I'm just going to ghost them or whatever. I feel like that's such an easy way out. And it's like, yeah, maybe there are certain red flags where if they do that, you just should not talk to them anymore. But for the most part, I think that the best response to a red flag or a trigger is to have that conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a huge thing. And even if it turns out bad, you had the conversation and it's a really good practice for you to get into because you're not going to ever get into a relationship, a marriage, whatever that looks like with someone that you're not able to have the conversation with. So that's something that that's a reality of any relationship.
Right. Also, maybe if the person that you're dating wants to have a conversation with you and how you receive it as well. And logging that information like, oh, I didn't receive this very well. I have to go back to the drawing board or figure out whatever that person said or didn't say was very triggering to me. And maybe I need to work on how I receive things, or I need to work on how I have conversations that are very uncomfortable. It sounds just like a lot of personal check-ins, which we talk about all the time, and always starts with being vulnerable and honest with yourself, which is a tough thing to do. Yeah. I think my goal is if I end up getting back out there, I would encourage whoever I'm dating to like also get the app and use it then. Yeah. And just like kind of track together and see, let's compare notes at the next one.
Ooh. I've had people tell people about it and then they get, especially guys, maybe they get a little bit concerned about like, oh my God, what my score is or whatever. But I've never had it. I think there could be a way to have that conversation in a very unique way where it's like, hey, this is an exercise that I'd love to do together, especially since you're wanting to come at it from the friend angle. I think that's super powerful. But it has to be really people who are open-minded, I think, who would be able to do that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like any person you would date and be a partner with or match with would be very open-minded. So that would be actually fun. So tell me how that goes.
Yeah, I will
With
try
me, it's tough. They're always like, you're going to check on what I logged. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Oh, okay. So they're thinking that each of us would have access to the log?
No one has access. But I'm obviously the founder and I own everything. So they're just thinking that I'm going to go in the back end, which like I'm not tech savvy. I had someone create the app. So it's not like I can go do that either. But yeah, they're going to be like, you're going to go check in the back end and see what I said. I'm like, no, I'm not.
I don't have time.
You're like, no, I don't have time for that. I'm going on another date. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
That's too good.
Awesome. I think that we had really great conversation here. I'm really excited for our listeners to hear it. Can you let everybody know where to find you?
Yeah, so Clara for Daters, the app is absolutely free and it's in the App Store. My goal is to keep it as free as possible, as long as possible. Eventually, I want to bring like ads and stuff so that, again, the user, it stays free. Because it's really important to me for people to have some behavior change too in choosing their partners. I do believe that we can make an impact, and that's that social impact aspect of it.
Yeah.
If we're helping women choose their partners better earlier on, I think everything else exponentially will shift. I think if we are not in those abusive relationships, everything will shift. So that's the one part. But it's in the App Store, Clara for Daters. I'm also on Instagram, Clara for Daters. I talk about my own story and like how I'm going through it. And then also on TikTok, Clara for Daters. So those are the 3 places, but the app is completely free and it's in the App Store.
Yeah, it's cool too to follow along because you're also on the dating journey. It's not like
Right.
you're just like an executive who like wanted to make a dating app. It's like you are going through it too, and you created it so that you could also use it. So I think that that's really inspiring.
Yeah, and I can't wait to add more things to it. This is the MVP version, which is like the most viable product, but I have users who are saying, I'd love to add my first date outfits to it as a record. I'd love to add when my period is as a record. And I'm like, these are all great ideas. So keep them coming, because the more people that I get on the app, the more money I can raise and the more I can build out these ideas.
And I saw too on social that you do events like occasionally.
Yeah, so I did one last year. I'm going to try to do another one this year. I'm thinking more of that one was like bringing people in the wellness, mental health space, educational more than anything. This one might be a little bit more mixer kind of idea. So we'll see. But I'm playing around with some ideas for later in this fall.
Oh, fun. Okay, well, let us know because we would definitely want to come, and we'll keep an eye on your socials and everything. We'll link everything down there for our community to be able to find you. And yeah, let's all be a community on this dating app together and just see what the results are.
Yeah, share our experiences online. We're trying to encourage more people to start conversations on our YouTube and our Instagram comments. And I think now Spotify podcast added an area for comments as well. Cool. So I would love to hear everyone's dating experience in general and what happens on the apps.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jillian. And we loved our conversation, and we'll keep following your journey.
Thank you so much. I had really a wonderful time talking to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jillian, again so much for coming on. I'm excited for you guys to hear this. If you made it to the end of the episode, comment with a pink heart emoji.
Oh, they have a couple. Any pink heart you want.
Yeah, you can choose. We'll give you the freedom of choice in that one. Yeah, it was really good. It really just encouraged me to just keep going, because I think that, like I said on the episode, when something fails, which I don't want to use the word fail, but when you stop talking to somebody,
when something fizzles out,
yes, it's easy for me to take months, if not a year, in between dating a new person. So it's refreshing to be like, okay, not that I want to ignore my feelings,
right,
or push myself faster than I'm ready, but just get back on the horse again.
Yeah. And the journal gives you the tools, like we talked about, to note all of those things. And it is nice to have it in one place. It's your box for dating, and then you have your box for mental health, so that it's not necessarily all in one place. It's not all in your notes app, or it's not all in one journal. You have a very specific place to go back to for dating, and it's still very insightful into your mental health at whatever period of time.
Yeah.
So I do like that it exists forever, unless you delete it, which don't do that. So I would encourage all of you, please go check it out. Clara for Daters, of course, it'll be linked. We want to encourage Jillian to add all of the things that she's receiving feedback for, as far as period tracking, outfit tracking, which could like totally go into building like your little capsule, like a wardrobe capsule.
Or sometimes I forget, like, ooh, what did I wear on the second date, to make sure I don't wear it again.
Yeah.
Especially not that guys usually remember.
Especially some guys do, but mostly no. Yeah. And especially if you are in that rotational roster dating, that could be pretty, how do you remember?
Yeah, exactly.
Cher. I still want Cher's closet.
Oh, I love with all the Bob Mackie dresses.
Yeah, and then the screen, right? Where I'm sorry, Cher.
I'm thinking, do you believe? I'm thinking that Cher.
It's Cher, bitch. I am a rich man.
Yeah.
Play wagon wheel 1-2-C. No, not that Cher. We do stan that Cher, but
yes,
Cher from Bel Air. Lucy, where's my, what did she say? Where's my white blouse from Red Single?
Yeah.
Sure. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's really all we have. It was such a nice, lighthearted conversation. We know we can get really hot and heavy on the pod. Of course, always bringing it back to mental health, being honest with yourself, and personal check-ins.
Yeah.
I'm motivated to, like you said, I'm motivated to keep going. It's harder for me, y'all. Being a single mom changes the whole game. So it's like
single mom, working a job because you got to make monies.
Yep.
And going to school, like, when do you have time? So it's like maybe yours will look a little different.
Oh,
like maybe I can fit
different.
time in for 1 date a month instead of me like having the goal of maybe doing 3 a month.
Yeah.
Which to me that even is a lot. I'm like,
it already, it already sounds like a lot. But I think that because she was talking about how the more that you do it, the more that it's practice. It doesn't have to be so serious. It doesn't have to be so intense. I think
removing the pressure.
Yeah, removing the pressure, and then just being upfront and honest that you are in that cycle of life of rotational dating, so that the other person doesn't think that you're dating to exclusively date them. It's always about communicating. So I love that because I've never experienced dating in that way, and I feel like I need to.
Right.
Because it's dating.
I usually take it one person at a time.
Yeah.
And then have the spiral like she was talking about afterward, where it's like, now I'm so sad because they're not texting me back, or they ghosted me, or things just aren't working out, or whatever it is.
This is happening this way, or this behavior is making me feel like this, instead of taking off the pressure from just one connection and spreading it across multiple connections and keeping track that way. So all in all, a very lovely conversation. We are so grateful and thankful to Jillian for coming on.
Yeah.
And we look forward to all the happenings. And if we do end up going to an event, of course, we will share that with you guys.
And we'll hopefully see you there. Yeah. Exciting announcement. We passed 100 followers on Instagram. Woo-hoo. So, which leads me to follow us at empathsanonpod on Instagram and on TikTok. Also, we got over 100 views on one of our last previous episodes on YouTube. So you guys are tuning into YouTube.
Thank you guys so much. It feels good to be in the triple digits.
It really does. It does. So if you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and we will continue to see, well, we won't see you. You'll continue to see us every Wednesday on the YouTubes.
Yes, ma'am.
Shall we pray?
Let us pray.
Let us pray today.
Spirit, grant us the serenity to trust our dating instincts,
the courage to build intentional connections,
and of course, as always, the wisdom to not read a bitch when they try me. And so it is.
So it is. Bye, feelers.